Miss Nancy Reagan is a wonderful person, First Lady. She has served, very nobly. She is a beautiful woman. She has the interest of the country and the world at heart. And so when she came up with this concept of saying no to drugs, I think that she is genuine and she really, really, really wants to make a difference. But I'm not sure her understanding of drug addiction. I mean, we all are versed in the physiological and the psychological aspects of drug addiction. But there's another component which is very significant, and there's a spiritual part to it. Drug addiction and drug addiction is another phase of voodoo. And so this spiritism that is involved here with this drug addiction, unless you could be that part, it's a waste of time. I've been around programs where people go and they fool themselves. They get strong, they run around the block, they dress up nice, the people pep them up and tell them they're great and everything. When they leave the program, they go on and fall back straight in it again. All the results they make, and many of them step out from it and go on and open churches and call themselves pastors and stuff like that, instead of join a church and sit on the pew to be taught and learn how to live a life that is free of drugs and crime, etc., or go to school and get an education and come be minister. Immediately they gone out and their tail and claim to fame to be a minister because they maybe supposedly be this drug addiction. I think that we need to understand what we're up against. Adam and Eve, they were created a little lower than the angels, and my understanding is that they were almost 20 feet tall and they were proportionate and strong. They could have lifted up an elephant, but they weren't angels. So that angels are much mightier than Adam and Eve were. I mean, they were deceived by them. And so when we go in and join in this voodoo, drug addiction voodoo, we might pep ourselves up and say, I'm going to stop. But how can you pull your hand out of a giant like that? Little puny us who 5 feet, 4 feet, just weigh 100 and something pounds, can't even lift up, our body weight. How are we going to we can even pull ourselves away from Adam and Eve, much as these devils. And so it's the devil's interest that folks feel that they could beat this thing, try it, and then you can beat it. But our minds are being damaged to the extent in which we wouldn't be able to handle the problems that we're facing in these days and in the near future. Individuals going to be so crazy, the slightest thing they want to, create violence, create, serious problems out there. People can't take care of themselves. People can't make straight decisions in government because they don't understand the issues. They can't be good students because their minds and their constitution are undermined in this drug addiction. So in the past, my understanding is that the Roman civilization, they were involved in so much drugs that it wasn't too surprising that they got knocked off. And so say no to drugs, it's a good. And so if individuals are serious and really want to make a difference here, they would have to go to the Lord. It's only the Lord could run these demons. You have to get to Jesus and say, I need you to help me take my hands out of these demons' hand and be freed. So unless one is going to ask God for help, all the efforts is just be a waste of time. In fact, what would happen is that some folks who seem to beat drug addiction, they go into other phases. They might push it, or they might get a job and the mind's not working correct and they want to embezzle the company, or they want to abuse kids or whatever. So it's big and complex. So unless God has freed us, all we're doing is changing drug addiction for some other serious problem that we end up destroying the individual in the final analysis. So with states now moving to raise revenue by legalizing certain drugs to raise revenue, I am wondering how this thing is going to end up. But I do hope that not everybody falls for it, and that many of us will stay the course, keep our minds clear, so we could be able to function properly in these times.